The world today has been blessed with a number of exceptional thinkers, innovators, transformational leaders. I can think about minds like Andrew Carnegie, the visionary behind steel that inspires America building upwards. I can think of minds like the Rockefellers, the great giant behind oil and gas. I can think about Napoleon Hill, who collaborated with Andrew Carnegie to give us Think and Grow Rich. I can think about J.P. Morgan, some of the great minds in the banking industry. I talk about these names, or I introduce these names because the things that I'm going to talk about here today, they are not exceptional because people would have done them before. I know many of you today, you start a business and you want to become successful as entrepreneurs. All the names that I have talked about just now are people who have become billionaires. Those are the minds who would have built the United States of America because of their exceptional approach to thinking and to innovation and to leadership. If you want to be successful in business, you have to step away from the average. You have to embrace your uniqueness. You have to nurture your uniqueness. And you have to give yourself wings to fly with wisdom and understanding and the ability to apply yourselves. Those people who have come before you, who have attained exceptional success, they're no different than you. You have the same gifts, you have the same abilities, but guess what? They had a burning desire to want to become successful, and probably that's the only difference. Many of you want to be successful, but do you have that burning desire? That desire that says that nothing will hold me back. Nothing will prevent me from becoming the victor of my success story. Today on the Billionaire Codes, I want to give you some new and innovative ideas that will help to take you to another level of development. What I will attempt to do is not necessarily look at new ideas. To some of you it might be new, but what I will do, I will go for depths. So instead of going for variety, I will go for depths in relation to the subject that I will present to you today. Today I want to talk about marketing. And as you would know, marketing is a very broad subject matter. And if even I try to minimize it to say I'm going to talk about the fundamentals of marketing, that too is broad because the fundamentals of marketing give an understanding or give representations to three essential principles. The fundamentals of marketing introduces you to what is known as marketing concepts. It introduces you to what is known as marketing management, and it introduces you to what is known as the consumer and business to business market. What I want to talk about today will be taken from marketing concept. But even as we look at marketing concepts, there are 9 essential concepts for you to walk away with. I will not be looking at the 9 today because it will take me probably the rest of this week to really dive into those 9s to ensure that you have the clearest of picture, the clearest of understanding in terms of how these principles can be applied to your life to ensure that you can come to that next stage of business breakthrough in your life. Today I will be talking about a simple concept, and that is identifying market opportunities and needs. Identifying market opportunities and needs. Now, if you're going into any business, these are some of the first steps that you must take if you want to ensure that you are market sensitive and market oriented, and you're using that market information to ensure that you can align whatever products or services to the needs and wants and the expectations of your target market. So the first thing we're going to be looking at here is identifying market opportunities and needs. What exactly do I mean by this? It simply means that you must know, in no uncertain terms, who is or are your target market. Yes, you can target your market based on their lifestyle. You can target your market based on age. You can target market based on culture. You can target market based on groups and reference groups. These are essential factors for you to know as you go into business. Let me give some more clarity here. As an entrepreneur, you might want to say, okay, I am targeting male. And in targeting male, which is the gender, you have made a decision that you're going to supply everything male, if it's possible. Let me give you an example. You might say you're going to produce shoes for male. You might say that you're going to produce pants and shirts and vests and trousers for male. But are these the only needs of males? Certainly not. If you're targeting a male as your primary demographics, they also have needs outside of those physical needs. They have emotional needs. They have psychological needs. They have a need for their dietary intake. Now, here is where you're going to start to differentiate too, because not every male eats the same food. Not every male wears the same clothes. People makes a decision in selecting what they're going to wear, where they're going to be socialized, what they're going to eat based on their social standing in life. So as you get into marketing, it is important that you take the time out to investigate these facts in relation to doing business. And you see, many persons want to become millionaire, many persons want to become billionaire, but you can only become successful when you have the information and you can leverage that information to grow your vision. And I will attempt here today to be as simplistic as possible so as to ensure that you have the right information as you set yourself up to become wealthy, successful people with the information that we will now provide to you from the Billionaire codes. So the first thing we look at is knowing your demographic. And this comes under the heading of identifying your market opportunities and needs. You know, many persons that they're doing business and they just do not have any clear sense of understanding as to who they are targeting. Some people say I target everybody. Impossible. Impossible. You might want to say you're producing soap, and because everybody have to bathe, they're gonna use your soap. You're completely wrong. There are some people who would simply not use your soap, not necessarily because of a class issue, but because of the fact that they may have an allergy reaction to your soap. They may have to use a medicated type, and what you're doing is not a medicated type. But there are people in the market that makes decisions on what they're going to use largely based on lifestyle. You might want to say you want to produce a cheap soap, and you think that because the soap is cheap, everybody's going to buy it. You're wrong. You might want to say that you're producing an expensive soap, and because that soap is expensive, everybody's going to buy. You're wrong. Because those persons who are at the lower end of economic well-being, they most likely will not have the disposable income to invest in an expensive soap. So it is close to foolishness to say that you're targeting everybody. You cannot. And it's close to foolishness to get into business and not know who is or are your target market. These are things that you must invest in from the get-go of your business. So these are important facts for you to consider when you start to think about who is or are your target market. The next concept I want you to consider here on this heading is you need to go one step further. Now you know who you're targeting, why you're targeting them. You need to go one step further, and that is to understand the size of your target market. And I literally mean you must understand the size of your target market. So let's take, for example, you're targeting male again. You need to go to the census return and you need to gather the right information. You need to know how many males exist in your country at any given time. You need to go one step further as you set out to understand male, because again, remember, not all males are going to buy your products or use your services. You need to identify those males that has the greatest chance of supporting your products based on their lifestyle, based on their culture, based on their social class, based on their groups, and based on their reference groups. You need to know this by number. And it's easy to do this at sometimes. Census return is supposed to be a central point of information access that will be able to tell you how many people exist in the country. It's supposed to also give you a breakdown in terms of what are their social status, what are their income earning standards. And based on those factors, you can then make a decision. We have 1 million male, but we have 20% of those male who are my target audience. So you know immediately you're targeting 200,000 males. And this is how we do marketing. It's about having the intel, and it's about using that intel to help you to make informed and educated decision in terms of business. And you must always put yourself in that position where you are informed and you're educated and you can make the best informed decision to compete and win in business. It's important for you to have this information because this is the only way you can put on their wings and fly with knowledge. They say knowledge is the key that opens the doors to the world of knowledge. And if you're getting into business and you don't have this knowledge, it means that your knowledge is locked. And a locked mind cannot be as innovative and creative as it can be. You want to ensure that you position yourself to be that open mind. Now, let me advance this discussion just a little step further, because now you understand how many male lives in your country. My focus, as I keep saying, is not to empower you with knowledge for you to be able to apply that knowledge and that skill set at a domestic level. I want you to upscale in your self-confidence. I want you to upscale in your self-knowledge. I want you to upscale in your ability to apply yourself. So I now want you to take this to a whole nother level. I want you to see yourself doing business not only in one country or in one region. I want you to identify what is the possibilities of me integrating my content into the world. Of course, before you think about integrating your content into the world, you have to ask yourself, how can I brand a product with global relevance? And I will come to that a little bit more shortly. But as we talk about identifying the size of your market, I want you to now look at identifying the density of your market. And what exactly do I mean by this? Now we say you have 1 million in your country males, and you, based on your research, you know that only 20% are likely to be the persons to consume your product or your service. So you're looking at 200,000. Now you need to ask yourself the other question: where, how dense is this target market? And what do I mean by dense? Can I find my target market at one place, or are they geographically dispersed? These are all important questions that you must ask yourself. For example, you might want to say you're doing male products, but yes, you have 200,000 males that you're targeting, and where you are producing and positioning your product, you probably have males, but you probably only have 100 males at your access point. And the 90% of that male population that you're targeting may be in a completely different region from where you're at, in the same social space, in the same geography, but it's not at the point where you're at. But what you do, you position your products, you position your service at a central point. This actually brings me to the point I want to talk about the 4 P's of marketing, which we call the product, the price, the place, and the promotion. But I will not go into that now. It's also important information for you to have. But you need to understand how dense your market is. And when you can understand how dense your marketing, you need to also look at how dispersed your market is. You see, this is the only way you can put yourself in that position to make an informed and educated decision in terms of doing business. And again, I want to re-emphasize that if you're doing business, this is the point you need to do business at. And when you learn how to do this at a domestic level or at a national level, you can now upscale the same principles to a regional level and to an international level. And here is where you can start to truly separate yourselves from those who are just average in business. This is precisely why the Rockefellers and the Andrew Carnegie and the Napoleon Hill and those great minds who have been around long before us, they were able to accomplish so much in their lives, because when they think, they master one thing at one level, they develop mastery in doing one thing, and what they do, they leverage that mastery across the world. And that is why the Rockefeller, the great mind behind what I think is now known as the ExxonMobil theme, has built an empire that has lasted over 100 years. JP Morgan, these industries has lasted over 100 years, you know. And if it is that you want to set yourself up to become that exceptional thinker, that exceptional leader, that exceptional person who's achieving great things in your life, you have to expand and change the way in which you think. So the third thing that we're going to be looking at here today on the identifying market opportunities and needs is identifying market viability. The reason you go through all of the first steps I would have discussed with you is that you need to put yourself in that position to understand how viable it is to get into that market. For example, let us suppose that you're targeting the 200 males, and let us just suppose that those 200 males might be condensed. But something you didn't take into consideration is, are their needs and their wants being satisfied at the level of their expectations, below their expectations, or above their expectations? The possibility exists that your competition might be so positioned in that market that they make it tremendously difficult for you to penetrate that market. But you don't know this because you're not doing the market analysis. You need to get to the ground and get your feet dirty, get your fingers dirty, and get the facts, because it's only when you have the facts you can make an informed decision, and it's only by making an informed decision you can truly grow successful businesses. So you need to put yourself in that position where you can determine the market viability. The market viability is not only determined by your competitor's position in the market and your competitor willingness or unwillingness to give you an entry into the market. There are many other factors that you need to consider. For instance, it's like when you get into the market and you do your SWOT analysis and you're able to identify strengths and weaknesses and opportunity and threats. You can make a decision here that, okay, there is weaknesses here, and I believe that I can build a brand to help overcome that weaknesses. And I can apply that brand, I can leverage that brand to the specific demographic and make market entry. Marketing is just like a science. It's a science that's based on knowledge. And when you understand people's needs, wants, and expectations, and you can align your organization to supply above and beyond those expectations, you're setting the stage to become an exceptionally well-rounded and a person who can attain exceptional success. So measuring market viability is also something very important for you to think about as you get into doing business. The fourth issue that I want you to look at is the products and the services. At the beginning, I said that you might get into business and you might say that you want to provide a product or a service for male. In doing business, you need to take the time out to understand how you're going to grow this business. Yes, you want to target male, but you don't want to necessarily say, I'm going to produce boots and not look at socks. When every person that buys a boots or buys a shoes, they need a socks. The reason I'm saying all this is because in the world of competitive business, if you have just think about one thing or one element of that customer that you're targeting, and you're only trying to reach out one specific need. The way business are set up and the way the business are run in the world today is that the creative, the innovative mind, they are thinking how to make the shopping experience for their customer more simple, more easier, and how to build an industry where you can go one place and literally walk with everything. And this is why Walmart today, it is the way it is today. You can go to Walmart and you can get groceries. You can go to Walmart and you can get medicines. You can go to Walmart and you can get domestic appliances. You can go to Walmart and you can get sports gear. Those organizations literally being set up that way based on spending time and investigating monies into understanding people needs and people wants and people expectation, and literally going that extra step further to ensure that they can make life easier for their target market. And just think about this. You have two stores. You have one that is selling shoes and you have one that is selling everything. You know that when you go to buy your shoes, you probably want to run to the next shop to pick up some groceries. Which one would you go at? The one that is just selling the shoes or the one that is selling everything? And the one that is selling everything, they're not only thinking about making a massive amount of products available to you based on your specific needs. They're also prepared to make a massive amount of products available to you also at highly competitive pricing. And they're also going to give you the best quality customer care that will rock your world. You can't really compete with that unless you're prepared to truly apply yourself at business. So these are important information for you to get as you set yourself up to make breakthrough in business. And I'm happy that I'm here to help today on the Millionaire Code. And this is what global branding and marketing is all about. We want to give you information that will take you from one stage of development to the next stage. And believe me, when we talk about these issues, we truly understand what we know because we spend time in research and we spend time in investigating the facts. And, we are going to be spending more and more time to bring those information to you through these podcasts at no cost. We are doing this to you because we believe that you are entitled to have these kind of information when you want to grow a business and when you want to leverage your business idea to become some of the wealthiest people the world has ever known. We first of all believe that you can make great things happen in your life once you have the facts, once you have the information, and once you're committed to use that information to your advantage. And along with this, all the information that we're talking about here today on this podcast, I know sometimes I might be going a little too fast for you, but you feel free to call the numbers that are on your screen, and we will be so happy and so pleased to identify some time that we can sit with your companies and help your companies to truly internalize these principles and apply these principles to grow a successful brand. And the fifth thing that I want us to look at today is your competitors. And I briefly talked about that before. You really want to know your competitors. You want to know what they're supplying, particularly if you're going into the same market that they're in. Or you need to know what they're supplying to your consumers. You need to know if it's a premium brand, if it's a complementary brand, if it's a supplementary brand. You need to investigate if the customer is satisfied with what is being supplied. And you need to invest constantly in these information. All right. This is how we do business. In business, you have to be ensure that you are market sensitive and market oriented. If you're not market sensitive, if you're not market oriented, and your competitors are, they will completely squeeze you out of the market, and you're not in business to lose. Particularly when you come under the global branding and marketing brand, you're not in business to lose. We will show you how to penetrate those markets and how to differentiate your products and your services and develop globally competitive brand. So I trust that the information that you got today was useful, was helpful, and again, if I went too fast, I simply want to encourage you again to call me. Call the numbers on your screen, and we at Global Branding and Marketing, we are fully committed to serve you. We're here to serve, and at this stage of the development of our brand, we are feeling so generous. So a lot of the ideas that we are going to give to you, a lot of the questions that you want to ask, and the support that you need to grow your brand into a global brand, we are prepared to spend some time with you, probably at no cost. Just call and let's make that arrangement. You know, again, I want to say it's been a pleasure being with you today on the day heading of Billionaire Codes and a product designed by Global Brand and Marketing. My name is Gary Thompson. I'm a business development consultant by profession. I'm a humanitarian by nature, and I'm the author of the book Self-Application Best Practices, Transforming Minds and Cracking Billionaire Codes. I trust that the codes that we had looked at today truly help to serve you and give you information that will help you to crack your codes in becoming more successful in your line of business. I want to say again, it has been such a pleasure to be here with you, and I look forward to be with you in the next podcast very soon. So do enjoy until we meet again.